see different colors.
I'm a truth seeker. For me, that means that I sometimes lie without me knowing it. It's not my intention to lie, but still I'm lying because I'm seeking truth.
Is it possible that the people that run us, right, figured out that a lot of us have this need to know where we came from, where we go when we die? Is it possible that they realize that, and they realize that them having the answers, be it cosmological, religion, economical, political, that's a way that they can control us? You guys see that as a possibility?
It's an absolution methodology of control. That's definitely a tool.
Yep.
It helps this fear, guilt, and shame that is utilized quite efficiently, if you recall, COVID-19.
So that's what I believe, right? The rulers that be have figured out what makes us tick, what makes the human mind work, our wants, our needs, our desires. And they put these systems in place merely to control us. To me, it's obvious nobody has the answers, being religious, political, cosmological. To me, it's quite obvious.
That's why it's important. That's why it's important to seek the truth. If you then to find what makes you tick.
I agree.
I agree, 100%. That's the one old Greek saying that resonates with me. I think it's credited to Herodotus or Herod. Know thyself and seek not excess. At first, I didn't recognize what that even meant, but now I wholeheartedly agree and attempt to live by this.
Hello, Luncher. Much love, brother.
Hey, Lightwater. Good to hear you.
And they also discovered that divide and conquer works spectacularly. Divide and conquer, that's one of their main tools, right? Republican, Democrat, right? Yeah.
Yes. False dichotomy. People buy into it, lock, stock, and barrel, without recognizing the perpetually propagated propaganda directly to you through newspaper, and radio, and television, internet, et cetera, et cetera. Our tribal tendencies, etc. To pick a side, pick a team, root for, against everyone else. You know, it's a tribal nature that is what is it called? Taken advantage of, utilized against us. Yeah, for control, methods of control. Those in control want to maintain control. Those with money want to maintain money. Those with power want to maintain power. I recognize these things.
Those that are ignorant want to remain in Canada.
You're a rotten apple.
Never trust Canadians.
Well,
hey, take that back. Take that back.
Don't trust Canadian money.
It was a joke. I'm Canadian.
Yeah, but you're in Montreal, so that's bad.
You see, there's another division point: French and English. See that?
Oh yeah, within Canada.
Tabarnak, mon ami.
No, you're supposed to say monotone. That's the fucking purest French Canadian I've ever heard. He sounded like a robot.
Poutine?
Yeah, think about it. Black, white, Hispanic, French, Canadian, Democrat, Republican,
Liberal, conservative.
right, right, evolutionist, Bible believer, creationist, Protestant, Catholic. You know what I mean?
I'd say Anglican and Catholic, not Protestant.
Well, it was an Anglican king that invented Protestant because he wanted to divorce his wife or something. Isn't that the story?
Yes, sir.
So think about it. A king, because he didn't agree with Catholicism and the ability not to divorce your wife, he invented a whole religion so he can do that.
There's a couple differences, but nothing like super crazy.
Hold on, that's not true exactly, SE, though. That's rewriting history. That's like mainstream saying the Earth is a globe. You got to look a
Well,
little bit
correct me. I
deeper.
asked if I was right or wrong in that. That's what I heard. Correct me.
Okay.
How am I wrong?
Yes, because before 60 years before King James authorized it, under pressure by all the people surrounding him, okay, was because the revelation of what took place. Just like the cover up, we discovered that the Earth is not a sphere moving in space, 1,000 miles, how many miles an hour? 1,000 miles per second around the sun, if I'm not mistaken. Before we discovered this cover up, there was a truth that the Earth is flat. And a lot of people knew about it, but they covered it up and kept it. So essentially, the same thing happened with the Bible. SE. There was a time when the people were across Europe were learning new languages in the field because of work. They were learning German. They were learning English. They were learning all these different
That
European
happened
languages.
later. That happened after
Yeah.
the Tower of Babel. But prior to that, everybody
Yeah.
spoke one language universally.
Yeah. I'm talking about essentially after Jesus' death. So, okay, we can go back to the Jesus' death really quickly. So after Jesus' death, Rome silenced them because the lies from the Jews. So essentially, but despite the lies, people within Rome and in Israel believed Jesus, and they started to convert. It was slow but surely, just like the flat Earth. It started off slow, but they're surrounded by globers. But even in the Roman Empire, they totally converted because of because of the bravery of the Christians and the people seeing these Christians put to death and singing, and because it's the truth. You can't smother out the truth. It's never going to be smothered out, just like flat Earth. So it spread like wildfire. The Romans eventually, the ruler Constantine instituted it, and he was involved in one of the very first excavations in the history of mankind, where they actually found the tomb of Jesus Christ. That a former Roman ruler, Tiberius, if I'm not mistaken, literally covered up the tomb and built a statue of Venus because the Christians were they recognized that was where Jesus beat death. But basically, they built a new capital called Aelia Capitolina. Constantine destroyed it and found the tomb, and that's where people cherish it today. But we fast forward into the future because of corruption. A lot of these people within the church were spending money. They didn't read the book, and now they're like recognized. Oh, these other people don't understand Latin, so let's fly about God. And in reality, let's make up our own thing. Let's sell them
Bro,
forgiveness.
that may be
Hold on,
true,
I'm
but
almost done. I didn't go
how
one
does
more
that
minute.
to do with Protestant?
Okay, this goes one more minute. Well, I promise. Okay, so essentially, these guys were hiding the Bible. They're hiding flat Earth. So they were saying, "Forgive." God doesn't forgive for free. It's actually a cost, and basically, it was like a year's salary. So their lies literally keep people in bondage for 1,000 years. So imagine after 1,000 years, people recognize reading. Even people within the clergy are saying these guys are lying. Let's stop lying. So one guy created a Bible with what the Latin Vulgate said and what the Bible actually said. People within the community said these guys are liars. They kicked him out of the country all across Europe. So the people ran back to Rome, telling, hey, they don't believe us anymore. Someone started printing the Bible and what it said, and the secret's out. So what the Romans did, what they did was they said, oh, we can't control the Bible like we did for 1,000 years. Let's tell them don't believe the Bible. So what they did was they invented up stuff like the Earth is moving, Earth is a globe in the 1500s. they promoted it even more. So during the Protestant Reformation, when people read the Bible, so their new tactic was says don't believe the Bible, and that's why they were debating is Earth moving during the Reformation. People were being put to death. But William Wilberforce was translating into English 60 years later after his death. He actually, before that, he said he wanted someone in England to translate this Bible. It was King James because of the people surrounding him. Excuse me, because they were telling him, these guys lied to us about what the Bible says. So eventually, like King James, like you would say, let's give the people the truth. So he was convinced to give people the truth. They tried to kill him. And that's where we are today. They're still but they went to the moon and said, look, the Bible's wrong. And thank you.
Bro, you said a million things there. Is King James the one that made the Protestant religion? Is that what you're claiming?
No,
The
he just
Protestant
gave a
Reformation-
good story.
The Protestant Reformation actually stems from Martin Luther in Germany, nailing a thesis to the church, telling them about these lies that they're doing, selling forgiveness. So they wanted a reformation of the church. But what happened is people who are rewriting history, like saying the earth is a globe, saying, no, the Reformation is the Protestant religion. He wanted to protest about his wife. No, that's that's rewriting history. The Reformation was about reforming the church.
Of course it was.
What are some good alternatives to matter being made of atoms?
I've
Matter
got
being made of energy.
I was going to say, yes, the energy, the data and the energy that traverse the media have the potentials to form and transmute elements. So this is also high potential light, high beyond gamma cosmic radiation, etc. I'll shut up. I'll nerd out too much.
What is the difference between saying energy and the atomic model? You're still not going to get away from the general atomic model. Calling it
Well, that's what I was
energy,
trying to
what does
say
that
is I've got a different atomic model. So I'll post it if you want.
Sure. But
Walter
this is-
Russell says it's gravitation versus radiation. It's two sides of the same coin.
Most people have been misled in what radiation actually means.
Go on.
Well, the misconception of radiation and ionized radiation.
Ionizing.
Right. Positive ionized radiation.
What? You're talking
And the
about
negative.
ionizing.
Well, anyway, yeah, this just, all right. In the States here, the only laws and rules and regs when it comes to radiation is thermal effect. And I know there's way more going on than just thermal effect, but I'm just saying as far as official laws, regs, and rules here on radiation itself.
What does that have to do with it being ionizing or not?
Oh, radiation. What is radiation? Would you call light radiation? Would you call heat radiation?
Yes.
Would you call radio radiation?
The radio waves coming off of it is light, yeah. Electromagnetic radiation. And if it's if it's ionizing, it's just strong enough to rip electrons off of things, so they become ions.
I think radiation is explosion. Gravitation is implosion.
That's what
Or the
radiate means.
outgassing of material.
It is just
We radiate.
energy that is not bound to the Higgs boson. It's gonna flow
We
at
look. we radiate energy. Joules, BTUs, and I had to learn this originally in doing my manual load calculations for the heat loads of each building. And when it comes to individuals, uh, the guidelines were, how many people, when you got to 4, you no longer added the heat, you added exponentially from there out once you got 4 or more. And this brought in greater questions that I didn't find the answers to.
But you
But
radiate infrared
yes, we do.
radiation.
We radiate. And
Yeah, infrared.
beyond that, what's not mainstream accepted is the form and function of our heart and what it radiates.
What do you mean by that? Well, we radiate infrared in terms of because we have heat, right? That's what you mean by we radiate?
Yeah, energy, heat,
What about it?
thermal energy.
Yeah.
Most people don't recognize radiation is the only thing I said earlier, the misconception of the word.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
have anything to argue. I'm sorry if you wanted to argue.
Oh, I don't. That makes sense.
I think in breath there is both gravitation and radiation, taking in air, compressing it, and exhaling again, radiating. A big part of it plays a function is the sodium-potassium pump inside of our body. According to Dan Winter, I don't
Hey,
always understand him, but he says gravitation releases information from crystalline structures.
Gio, I don't know if you're still there, but I'm gonna post it in chat to the question you answered or you asked. The answer to the question you asked.
All right, nice. Yeah, I'll
It's
check
in
it
a
out.
Google Drive. And who's the other guy that Kinetic? You can check that out too, Kinetic. It's right there.
That's what
You
the
said we can't
atomic
ever get
model.
away from the atomic model.
Right, you posted in the and where? Oh, I got it. The accurate model of the atom. Simplicity is divinity. Oh boy.
I mean, has the atomic model really been proven? And if not, then what is actually occurring?
I would suggest going down to the 14th page, Kinetic, because the formula for it is there. And then how how you get to the formula is all the information above, but at least you can see a different base level understanding of reality there, other than what you've been given.
Right. And when it goes down to the cat ions and anions, from Michael Faraday, allegedly, if history is correct in this manner, he needed to come up with a name for these energy packets with a positive and a negative charge value. And that's when he came up with the word ion and anion and cation.
I have a kinetic front doorbell, which doesn't need a battery.
Basically, if you look at on the 14th page there in red, it says P equals FC to the third power. That's essentially the formula there I was referring to.
So yeah, so I'm reading this right now. So can you explain what C cubed means?
I believe that's talking about. You said C cubed. I believe that's
C cubed is a big part of the.
I believe that's talking about capacitance.
Yeah, but it says capacitance C equals C cubed. So it's the same number?
It says
that is the maximum, which means that C can at most be 1, right?
It says C is equals the ether induction rate. which is sub-p hysteresis.
Well, yeah, but it says, or maximum capacitance C equals C cubed, a spherical frequency of T0, where F equals frequency, that has a magnetic force vector with temporal propagation below C cubed, which is equal to 1 at maximum capacity then, right? If C is equal to C cubed at maximum capacity, that means that C is 1, right? We can agree to that, right? Okay. Hold on. So this is positing that electrons do not exist, and we only
Yeah.
have protons.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, correct.
But that just instantly dies then. You have nothing balancing the positive charge. How do they get neutral at all? Why don't they just react with everything then?
Well, all free neutrons decay into protons anyway, so that's just the modality of a proton. You're just
Over
seeing
time, it's just charge flip, essentially. But
yeah, you're just seeing different modalities of existence, but fundamentally there's only one
But-
physical state.
that's just the nucleus, though. You're talking about different configuration of quarks versus the negative charge that's surrounding it, making it neutral. You have
There's
nothing
no
of that
such
in here.
no such thing as negative charge, man.
So all of currents, electricity, knowledge about electrons and metals.
Yep. That's all just a straw man, dude, from the original understandings, dude, which gave you essentially everything that you're building off of today.
So you only have positive charge.
You have charging, recharging, and discharging. You don't have like negative charge. Anytime you say negative charge, you're just talking like essentially the grounding of a system, a circuit,
How does
mainly.
two magnets attracting each other work in this framework, where you have a buildup of charge from both of them?
Well, for one, you'd have to define charge, but I can give you the understanding of magnetic attraction from this understanding. But now we're getting really deep into the this whole thing. I don't know if everybody really wants to go there with that.
Can you give
But
a short summary?
pretty long discussion. But yeah, I mean, probably not gonna like the answer when you hear the short summary.
Well, I don't know. I like a lot of weird things.
Well, this one's pretty triggering, and it's definitely going to take us down a rabbit hole. But I guess I could try.
Short one. You're not going to trigger me, I promise.
Well, that's what you say, but
I'm hard to trigger.
okay. Well, how about this? How about magnetic attraction doesn't actually exist whatsoever? Is that triggering?
Okay. Well, kind of, but you have to explain what is attraction then, and two magnets. What that is.
So essentially, what that is, it's not two magnets towards one another, but towards this null point between the two, which is essentially dielectric acceleration towards counter space, which is this, most indivisible portion of space, which you guys like to call the Planck unit. But yeah, magnets don't accelerate towards one another,
So they
rather
fall
towards
into
this
the
this
same.
lowest pressure point vortex center between the both.
Right, they fall into the same. They swirl into the same vortex center in the middle. And so, how does the repellent side work? Because hold on, if they
So
produce the
magnetic
same.
repulsion rather than being additive,
Well, hold on.
like
Just a question on the. Can I just ask about the attraction again? Because if they both produce the same path towards the same pit in the middle, but one is a positive side of a magnet and the other is the negative, how do they produce not an asymmetrical twirl in that sense? Wouldn't that be repulsive in that sense?
your mic's getting a little muffled.
Hold on. Not okay. Hold on. So is this better?
Yeah.
So if they're creating the same path towards each other into the same twirling pit, so they fall
Well,
towards each other.
They're
Then right,
not. They're not traveling in a straight line. They're
no,
traveling in a curved linear line.
but they same produce the same type of line, right? But one is positive, but the other side of the magnet is negative.
Well, this is. I mean, that's kind of how like we're conceptualizing it, but in all actuality, no. There is no like positive negative side of a magnet. And what you call a magnet, like what's responsible for what you label a magnet to be, being the attractive and repulsive nature of a magnet, doesn't actually happen at the north and south facing side of a magnet. Contrary to what you believe, that's actually not what's happening.
It's a way to define the opposite of one part of it. It's just positive and negative, right?
Well, you're getting into, to polarity and,
Yeah.
but I mean that's a whole nother. Do you want to discuss that, or what
Well,
part
I
of
mean,
this do
that's
you want to
why we
discuss?
call it positive and negative, right? To distinguish the polarity. And I don't know why you want to reject saying that there's
Because
no such
that's
thing as negative when it's just a description on the opposite.
because you have to understand when we're talking about polarity and magnetism that there's no straight line when dealing with these things. It's all curvilinear. So there's only one non-Cartesian nexus in counter space, and it's three-dimensionally curvilinear as necessitated by geomagnetic precession and the native magnetic force vector to become this expanding torus.
Well,
So
that's the
polarity.
atomic model, right?
No, this is just explaining polarity. I'm just telling you that in simplex, polarity is just nature's fundamental force vector, which is divergent from counter space and curvilinear by necessity, since polarity can't be merely two-dimensional.
Well, yeah,
Dimensional polarity, which polarity is by definition, cannot be merely linear, nor can it be straight. And all these lines are curvilinear and mutually divergent and centrifugally from a non-Cartesian nexus, which manifests both three-dimensionally as curvilinear, but additionally as so necessitated by the definition of magnetism, which is precessing to create the mass. So we've got this geomagnetic precession, right, which is what these guys earlier were referring to, this torque. It's literally magnetic field torque, which is the full and complete dimensional reification of polarity by definition. So it must be three-dimensional and divergent. And it's not really any more complicated than that, but a two-dimensional force vector, divergence is impossible and illogical.
I
So
just don't see why the
dimensionally,
hang up on the 2D force vector is important. I mean, it's just
because it's
extrapolating from
illogical,
1D.
dude. It's illogical.
Yeah, of course. It is.
Dimensionally,
Totally.
magnetism is extrapolated. It's an extrapolated vortex given multiple divergent vectors from each so-called pole. And these force divergence are tied like a dog to a stake in the ground. And as it precesses around and around to this plane of inertia, or the null nexus of this dielectric inertia, or counter space, however you want to refer to it, regardless of the name, at the center of all these magnetic fields, there's no magnetism, just that as there's, at the center of gravity, there's no gravity. So there's only one field, and that being this dielectric field. And since magnetism is the dielectric field, being expressed in force as implied the loss of inertia, and its electricity is the construct of magnetism and dielectric working in unison to create this self-reproducing energy construct which propagates. Gravity is merely incoherent dielectric acceleration or point non-specific mutual mass acceleration towards a counterspatial vector. And this is what we imply the smallest possible volume, which is connotatively so-called counter space, or what you would call the Planck. Go ahead.
So if everything is the dielectric interactions, then you should be able to then describe gravity in terms of it and make calculations based upon it and explain why everything falls to the ground at the same rate in a vacuum using that. And I don't think there's any electrical interactions that would be strong enough on distance to explain those at all. I think that's been tried
They're
multiple
actually
times.
stronger.
Yeah, but on very, very like the drop off is insane on electromagnetic charges. You know this. On large distances, it's nothing. Whereas that's the peculiar thing about gravity is that everything falls at the same rate, no matter the mass in a vacuum.
Well, with gravity, you're dealing with an additive rather than a multiplicative, like electrostatics. So it's
But it's still electromagnetic, is what you're saying fundamentally.
what's that?
You're still fundamentally saying it's an electromagnetic interaction making it fall to the ground, right?
Yeah, essentially gravity, electrostatic cling, and magnetism are all one, three, and the same. Their only difference is by one's an additive, the other's a multiplicative, and
But then things that were really, really far up then would have an even greater potential between the Earth. And so you see no discharge between these things. You don't see any charge up in the air when you hold something there.
sure you do.
In relation to how far you lift it up off the ground?
Yeah, the charge potential increases proportionally.
No, it does not. Well, yes, charge potential, if you were to use that to convert into energy, maybe, with gravitation. You don't charge an object more by lifting it up more.
Well, in terms of like potential energy, sure.
Yeah, I mean, now you're just granting gravity again. Yeah, if you drop it this far, you can generate that much energy, but I'm saying you don't notice a charge difference, electric charge difference, the higher you lift something. That's the peculiar thing about gravity, is that it pulls on everything the same way.
I'm pretty sure there actually is a chart, like an electrostatic potential that increases proportional to the distance from the surface. Trying to remember what that's called.
Only if you're talking about electrons being ripped off by being pulled really quickly through friction with the air. Otherwise, you're not going to have that happen. The way it builds up in a balloon, for example, when you rub it on your hair, it rips off electrons off your hair, and then you put it on the ceiling, so you have electrons pushing away the electrons on the ceiling. So now they attach with the positive charge. How that would just randomly not affect this gravity situation, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you should probably dive into that thing I posted.
Yeah, I read a
and
fair
see.
bit. I've read like half of it at this point, but I'd have to read it properly.
Yeah, I think you should sit down at some point and give it an honest go.
I will.
Try to make sense of what's being said there, and look at a new fundamental framework, to potentially perceive reality through, and never know what that could lead to, man.
So Dieslow, in that in like Ken Wheeler's that PDF you'd posted, and in terms of like what matter is there anything in his model, is there anything orbiting? Like, are those protons orbiting? Is there an orbiting process happening at the micro level of matter in his view, or?
Yeah, I mean, he refers to it as Lamar precession, or Lamar frequency. It's kind of what the NMR is based on.
Is it an orbit in the same sense of the way they describe electrons and so on? And obviously in their heliocentric model, they have kind of balls orbiting balls, but is it an orbit in that sense, or is it more of like a frequency?
You may recognize that us, the nerds, we call it the Lemur frequency, but it doesn't matter. It's the same damn thing.
Those might be two different ones, to be honest.
Oh shit! Awesome. If it is, that's cool.
Geo, in like in terms of like balls orbiting one another, no, like this kind of looks at it more from the standpoint of dynamic fields, field dynamics, sorry, rather than particle interactions. So it's kind of like it's a similar, it's essentially saying there's a lot of similarities between like conventional science versus like what's being said here. It's just that this is more logical and coherent and simpler, whereas like what they're saying just gets like really far off the beaten path when you start getting into like quantum and like the subatomic makeup. And things just have no, like, there's no common sense there at all. Nothing's intuitive. Everything is just mathematical assertions and dogmatic. There's nothing really there to support what's being said. And to me, it's just the bastardization of what's already been established through ether field dynamics.
Well, Dieslow, can I say something here? I'm reading the thing on page 7, and it says, point source field modalities and such have no field propagation attributional states. A hydrogen atom and a black hole are 100% exactly the very same thing. They are only
Yeah, essentially it's
by sake of their mass. Yeah, but he's talking about the hydrogen atom being the building block of reality, and everything steps up on different blocks through this
yeah,
model.
he's basically saying that that the protium, the hydrogen proton, is essentially a dynamo.
Right,
It's
and that
a
makes no sense in a black hole because it's observed that even quarks can break down in those. So the buildup of neutrons and protons themselves are not arranged in that. He's essentially saying the smallest step is essentially a proton and stops at that.
well, when we're dealing with like atomic makeup, yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
yeah,
a black
like
hole, I mean, in the normal or the mainstream atomic model, protons are made of split charges of quarks and neutrons as well, with different charge positions. And it might be 2 up quarks, 1 down quark, or 2 up, 1 down, depending on what makes a proton or a neutron. They basically have 2/3 split charges, and if they equal all to 0, you get a neutron. But like in this model, the proton is just a standalone thing. And it says that a proton can spontaneously become a neutron and the other way around. But that is thoroughly explained even further, I think, in the normal model. And this is just like the building block. So in a black hole, he's saying that this is building off from protons getting bigger and bigger. I don't see how that would make light go inwards.
well, you got to understand what light is to begin with from his model, because he's not saying light is like essentially comprised of photons. He's this is kind of where it gets interesting, right? Because light is essentially everywhere simultaneously, and this is, you know, what you're talking about is the difference between illumination and, I mean, there's kind of a lot that you're going to have to unravel to make sense of what's being said here. But
Right, but so I mean, I don't have to bring the how light works into it really to sort of critique the way a black hole would be built up. I mean, do you agree with him that black holes are a real thing? Because I don't know your model on things fully.
yeah, black hole is essentially just a mass with no magnitude. So if you look at it in terms of like these two fields mutually antagonistic to one another, one of the fields is completely dominated and decimated the other field, and that field being the dielectric field. So Essentially, it's overthrown the magnetism's ability to keep the supermass within the physical universe, and the only thing that keeps mass present within the universe is magnetism. But once you get at, you know, the geomagnetic precessional axis, aka the Lamore frequency, we see hydrogen being emitted from these black holes, and that is fundamental matter, which is a compound of harmonic hydrogen. So this is where we get like way above gamma radiation. We've got things like the zero-time particle, which is the fundamental particle of the universe, which is the hydrogen nuclei, and what we call hard light.
Hard light. The what nuclei?
The hydrogen nuclei is the fundamental particle of the universe.
Yeah, you're saying the proton is the smallest thing there is.
Well, I was saying protium.
Sure, but that is essentially what it is, right? The thing that can become a neutron at any point. It can decay into one, right? That is the building, that is the fundamental thing, and that is hard light.
Well, I'm calling it a hydrogen nucleus.
And there's no smaller thing than that.
In terms of matter,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Okay, because in the mainstream atomic model, we have it made up by 3 quarks.
Yeah, I understand. I understand you guys have subdivided natural order and come up with reified models
No,
that
we've
don't
split them
comport
and
with.
like
I mean,
detected.
have you really?
Yeah, we've detected quarks. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you know how much smaller a quark is than an electron?
Well,
What the magnitudes of difference are?
an electron doesn't. You can't really even have a definitive size on an electron. So to say that you can compare the two.
So are you
begin
saying
with-
that a quark is bigger than an electron?
No, electrons would be way smaller.
You're saying electrons are smaller than quarks.
But we're not talking about. You're talking about bosons versus fermions here, right?
I don't know. This is your model that you're projecting here onto me. It's not what I subscribe to. This is your model, and I'm just looking for consistency within it. And
Yeah,
it
but
seems
there's no-
inconsistent when you're talking about subatomic particles, right?
comparing
And
it to an
simultaneously
electron.
saying that the fundamental particles, being, you know, the constituents of an atom, right? You've got things that are smaller than that, even though that you've already admitted there's no spatial volume to an electron.
Hold on,
So
I
it
didn't
seems
say the
inconsistent.
quark was the fundamental particle to the universe. I'm saying you're saying that what we call the proton is, and our model is made out of 3 quarks that have 2/3 charge in either direction each, adding up to what their charge is.
You're saying that quarks are fundamental to particles.
No, I'm saying we haven't divided past that point yet, so we call it a fundamental particle. We don't make a truth claim like you do, saying hard light, a proton, you don't get smaller than that. That's not what we're doing.
But I know. You guys are making a lot of unfalsifiable claims. I get it.
No, you can. I mean, if you can build a particle accelerator yourself, you can divide protons into quarks. That's how we know, because that's how we have a verifiable proof of what they are. And we
Do
have
you
divided.
understand what birthed the particle accelerator?
Well, I'm saying the results of the modern day. I know.
Like, all of these things were built off one another, and it all started with the Crookes radiometer, and your particle accelerator, right, was built off the CRT tube set. The whole principle behind that.
Well, essentially, yeah.
Okay, but you guys are presupposing, right, what's there. So it's a big problem when trying to give a logical explanation behind what's being said, and there's a
So
lot
you're
of
saying,
presumptions.
so you're saying
Ex-
if we
yeah,
predict all they do is they predict something with a model that already exists, and you only confirm it if the result you get from a smashed particle pair is what you predicted, and then you go like, oh, it matched the model. Now we can call that the smallest thing that we have predicted. That's all that is.
Well, you're presuming the nature of something, right? And
Yeah, and
imposing
elsewhere.
that onto the experiment, and presuming what you've done is just, had some sort of a particle interaction. But you've never substantiated the particle to begin with. It's all based upon presumption.
No,
So that's not really how we do
that's
science.
not true. You do get
That is
two
exactly how
different
you do
books.
science.
No,
But
you don't
that is
presume the
part of it.
nature of something, right? And
Yes, you
set the
presume.
Yeah, you do.
experiment up, in such a way, right, to fit your narrative biasly. That's not called doing science.
It's literally how science is done. It's a hypothesis test.
Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
hypothesis, and then you test that.
I understand. I understand, but when you're presuming light to be comprised of photons and implying that you somehow use the photon as the input and output of your experiment, while never simultaneously, validating the existence of this photon, the whole thing's presumptuous and faulty.
Presumptions are the basis of science.
But it's faulty. It's not leading you to anything truthful when you're presuming the outcome to be something that violates logic and natural order.
Do you know how photons were discovered?
Well, I know the very term came from some pretty fringe people.
Yeah, the word is
I know that
the word, not the word, the particle.
Yeah, it came about through the Slickvant, through the particle wave
No.
duality and the
No,
diffracted
no.
wave pattern.
No. Max Planck. Max Planck. Does that ring a bell? Max Planck?
Yeah, we were just talking about him.
Right?
I'm just talking about him. But that's not where the term photon came from and the idea of it.
The word could have been hamburger. Doesn't matter what the word is.
Well, it does, because that's the word we're using, and it's significant.
No, it doesn't. The word doesn't have anything to do with what it is, right?
Well, they're synonymous. They should be synonymous. If you're going to invoke the word photon, then we should be under the the same understanding in terms of what's being said.
Words have nothing to do. Words have nothing to do with how things are.
Words are very important, especially in science.
It's now called photon receptor, like BC is now before BCE, right? So, the communication can break down real easy.
Do you think that? The color particle has a color?
I don't believe in color particles.
Well, I don't care if you believe in it or not, but do you think that physicists think that color and charm? Do you think that there are particles that are charming?
So, anyways, the term came from a fringe psychologist by the name of Leonard Trollin, and he was an occultist who studied telepathy and other weird fringe topics. So that's where the term came from.
Again, it's irrelevant. Do you think that the charmed neutrino? I think that is it neutrino or is it gluon? It's a gluon, right? Or up and down. Yeah. Gluons are up and down. Do you think that they are up and down?
You do realize that you presumed early on sound to be comprised of particles. They called it the photon. Or the phonon. Sorry, the phone. It was the phonon.
Phonon. Yeah, the
sounds aren't made up.
Particle.
Sounds aren't made out of particles.
Well, we know that today, but I'm just saying, all these atomistic presumptions were often hypothesized and treated as if it were science early on.
Yeah.
And the phonon was one of them. You also had the graviton, which is something that scientists are still pursuing the discovery of.
What about the action itself? How come it's never just taken into consideration? No, I'm serious. Like the action, it's just the action itself. So if a sound happens in any medium, there's going to be an action or a reaction. No matter what it is or how big or small, it's going to happen, right? So
that's the whole thing they're doing is evaluating the reaction and calling it something and it labeling it as a particle.
That's not what's happening. So I'm just trying to get Dieslow to understand that words do not dictate what something is. That is a hurdle that you haven't crossed yet.
What did you say?
Words?
You said,
I said words don't make things be the way they are, right?
Words is how we communicate. Brenda, I hate to break the news to you, but it's a thing called
Yeah, but
language in
if
science.
I
And
say, right, something is red, does that mean it's red? No,
it's red.
it could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It
Well,
could
stop
not be
saying
red.
it.
It could be blue. But that's the point.
Don't say it's red.
Words don't dictate reality. So the meaning or the origin of the word photon has nothing to do at all with the word.
you know another
photon.
thing that doesn't dictate reality, Brenda? Beliefs, right? And when you have a belief
That's
that
right.
light is comprised of photons, right? That doesn't dictate reality. That doesn't make it
That's
true.
right. Yes, but we know that light is composed of photons.
Well, we don't. We really don't.
We do, because a photon is the smallest unit of energy that light can come in.
That's a claim, but unfortunately, that's never been substantiated. A photon has never been the input or output of any
Yes, it
experiment
has.
ever in the
It is
history of science.
It's
incorrect. It's called the
experimental. It's
photoelectric effect.
No,
Yeah, by
no,
Max
the
Planck. Max
photoelectric
Planck.
effect was inaccurately explained, or sorry, inaccurately described by Einstein.
No, it
No,
wasn't.
that's incorrect. That's incorrect. That's incorrect.
Completely correct. He was incorrect when he explained it, and Hertz was actually the one who accurately explained it. Hertz should have got the Nobel Prize award, not Einstein.
Oh,
How did
do you
he get
have
it
a
wrong?
paper?
I
What's
just want
that?
to know what he got wrong. What did Einstein
What he got
get
wrong?
Yeah.
Well, he was wrong in his explanation, in the sense that here, I'll read to you what he said, so
Well,
I don't bastardize it.
wrong in what sense? Because in science, something is wrong if it disagrees with the experiment. So what experiment was conducted that showed that Einstein's understanding of the photoelectric effect is wrong?
So
in the prediction leading up to the experiment, what he hypothesized, now what he may have said at some random point, was wrong.
So Hertz discovered in the photoelectric effect that there's a difference between the red end and blue end spectrum of light, and its differences within its volume. And the blue end spectrum has a higher capacitance and a smaller spatial volume. And Einstein was the fourth person to talk about it, but he was wrong in his explanation. And Hertz said that the atomic capacitance is created when the threshold frequency light is used to create a charge disparity between the electrode and the inner atomic magnetodielectric permeability, which is breached. So that was
you didn't
Hertz's
understand any of that,
explanation.
did you? You didn't understand a word of that, did you? Not a word.
I did.
No, you didn't.
You're projecting, is what you're doing. That's called projection.
Where does the negative charge come from?
There's no such thing as a negative charge.
What the fuck?
Negative charge isn't a thing.
It was
That's a
you just read
misappropriation.
it. You just read it, dude.
Yeah, I'm reading where Einstein was wrong, dude.
How was he wrong? What?
And where did I say negative charge?
And the words that you just read, which you're so stupid you don't even understand, can't even remember.
Okay, so
15
I'm gonna have to mute
seconds.
you, since you're calling me stupid, and
I'll
nobody said
I'll be
anything
quiet.
about negative charge. I never read anything about a negative charge.
Could you
I can read it again?
Passage again? Yes, please do.
Yeah. I said Einstein was the fourth person to talk about it, but was wrong in his explanation. Atomic capacitance is created when threshold frequency light is used to create a charge disparity between the electrode and the inner atomic magnetodielectric permeability, which is breached. Nor did I say anything about a negative charge.
But I don't know why we're talking about that when we're talking about the photoelectric effect. It is simply
he has no idea what that is.
Right. Well, I think
Okay,
maybe,
so
I don't know, but,
I'm just gonna have to mute you, because all you're doing is insulting, and I'm done with that. So maybe take it to Gem Pandas.
I'm embarrassing you.
You're not embarrassing anything. You're just being very negative, condescending, ridiculing,
I mean, I do
and
like just a normal
insulting. I'm
conversation.
not dealing with it.
I do think it's easier if everybody has some baseline of respect in the conversation. But we do agree that photoelectric effect is just the release of electrons from a material, the amount of energy that's required to do so. And that would prove a particle interaction. And that's how that's what Einstein predicted, and that's what happens when you shoot specific wavelengths of light. That's how you can prove it's like quantized.
You know what the Crookes radiometer is? Kinetic?
What was the name?
Crookes radiometer.
Crookes radiometer. Let's see what that is.
Crooks. Crookes.
Okay, I see a very peculiar glass
What
bulb
what
with
what about it? That's not caused by photons. It's not
So
caused by the momentum of photons.
I don't know. I'm hearing
Oh,
somebody rambling, contradicting
That's
themselves.
me.
What is it? What are you saying?
Were you bringing that up because it's a common misconception that the rotation of that is caused by the momentum of photons impacting the little paddles. That's not what causes it to spin.
That wasn't my assumption. But
Oh,
nice
okay.
try.
I thought that's why you were bringing it up within the context of this conversation.
I'm bringing it up in the context of the conversation to show what Hertz was describing in terms of the differences between the different ends of spectrum of light and how one has a higher threshold capacitance, which is why you see the Crookes radiometer spin up when you shine the blue end spectrum of light at it versus the red end spectrum. So if you take like a blue LED versus a red LED, you're going to get a significant difference. One will actually make it precess and spin, and the other won't. And that's due to what's being said by Hertz. So when you're dealing with fields, right, it's intuitive in the sense that the higher the capacitance of the field, it's going to have a much smaller spatial footprint versus like the red end spectrum, which is larger in its spatial footprint, but much smaller in its capacitance threshold. So this is like when you get many magnitudes down the EMR spectrum towards like gamma radiation, it gets pretty dangerous.
but
You start getting like
okay.
quasi matter and weird up things, and the field footprint is very, very small compared to the other end.
But you're talking about a consistent difference in pushing from blue to red light?
What's this nuance you've added? What's that?
Isn't that what you said? The difference of blue and red light?
I said, yeah, the red light, the Crookes radiometer won't spin, and the blue end it will.
Right, but it looks as if though it's caused by the we agree it's the difference of heating of the gas around it and then the reflective side of it.
And he
Well, I
didn't.
mean, a lot of these devices, right, have like a very partial vacuum on there. To be frank, like I'm sure if you had something that was more consistent with like some sort of a pressure valve on there, so we could see what the reading is and keep it consistent, that would be interesting. But I don't know if anyone's done that.
Yeah, has this ever been done in a pure vacuum?
I mean, I'm questioning why you're using the term capacitance in this context, right? Because the Crookes radiometer, right? It's a matter of the light energy either being reflected, like on the white side, or being absorbed in the black side, right? Where the energy is converted into heat energy, where it causes the little atoms
But
to
you're saying in a
vibrate faster,
vacuum.
right? Which is what makes it spin because it heats up the air around it. And different wavelengths have different amounts of energy, and they're also
Well,
absorbed
I'm
differently
not
by the
speaking of
material.
not speaking of capacitance in terms of the storage of electrons per se. I'm speaking at it from my perspective. You came into a conversation late, but I provided Kinetic with a PDF, and I'm sure the term's defined in the PDF, but
Yeah, capacitance is a whole different thing compared to what you might be thinking. But if you could do this in a perfect vacuum, then, because the whole point is the reflective side doesn't absorb, the black side absorbs, releases more heat, expands the gas next to it, and so it pushes on that side. And so if you can do that in a... Go on.
I was going to say, in modern quantum physics, I mean, a photon is not like a bullet. It's just a packet of energy, and it's the minimum amount of energy required to influence the electromagnetic field. It's experimentally verified. That's all that a photon is. It's we realize that you need a minimum amount of energy in order to influence the electromagnetic field, and if you're below that or not within a quantized value of that, then you're not going to be able to influence the electromagnetic field. That's why they say the light is quantized, right? And it's experimentally verified, like 10 ways from Sunday, that this isn't in reality the case when it comes to exciting the electromagnetic field. You need minimum amounts of energy that are quantized into the amount of energy that's required to cause an effect in that electromagnetic field.
We're talking about H bar, pretty much, player.
you guys use a lot of terms, dude, that aren't very well defined. It's pretty cute. Excitation, attraction, charge, things of this nature. Magnetism, electromagnetism. I mean, you just take all these things for granted that somebody else has defined them and it's so well understood 10 ways from Sunday or however you put it. But fortunately, it's just not the case. It's just not the case, my friend.
I'm speaking specifically within the context of the quantization of light, right? Of the energy required to produce a measurable effect.
Well,
Jake, I'm sorry,
unfortunately,
but
yeah, you can't. Fortunately, you can't boil light down to some sort of discrete photon quantizing type particle. It doesn't work that way. Light's not a photon. It's not a particle, and
No, it's a
simply
packet of
doesn't work.
energy.
Well,
It's a packet of
define
energy. What is energy?
energy.
The ability. Energy is the ability to do work.
That's not a
The ability
definement.
to put it simpler. The ability to take something and put it somewhere else.
It's not a definement. Those are all descriptions. You haven't defined energy by saying, it's the ability for something to do something. Like it's not fucking
I mean,
an explanation, dude.
At its core, that's what energy is. It's the ability to move something.
think you got a little clown car packet photon of light, and then the little clowns get their little light.
You'd be better off saying energy is the resistance to inertia or something along those lines. But but instead, you're choosing like these weird little statements that like literally have no connection to explanation on said topic. It's not your fault. I'm not pointing the finger at you. I mean, everybody's been led under this assumption. And this is the problem, right? You guys have been indoctrinated to believe things that aren't actually things, and it's unfortunate.
Well, that indoctrination has managed to produce some pretty good fruits, wouldn't you agree? I mean, looking at the miraculousness of a smartphone that's based on all this physics, you don't consider that, or an MRI, you don't consider that to be
No, MRI wasn't. We didn't get the MRI from fucking particle physics. We got that from the Lamar frequency and Lamar precession, which is based upon magnetic resonance, and again another term that no branch of science has ever really defined. And when you start getting to like the most academic astute understanding on magnetism, they just call it the the exchange and emission of virtual photons. And when you look into virtual photons, they don't actually exist.
It's just sound.
So by their own definition, they don't actually exist by their own definition.
A lot of it is just
They don't have
sound
an answer.
reacting.
They literally don't have a fucking answer. And it's unfortunate, but that's where we're at, bro. And to answer your question about the smartphone, like the thing is, dude, is all your brilliance and sophistication that you call, you know, computer technology and smartphone devices is all built off the backbone of the electrical grid, which was given to you by ether field theorists that talk about the same stuff I'm telling you right now. In fact, they're the ones who godfathered it all. So you're welcome. You wouldn't have none of this, dude. You wouldn't have none of this if it wasn't for Steinmetz and Tesla and Faraday and all those fucking brilliant dudes that didn't believe in electrons and thought, you know, all agreed about this fundamental field, this dielectric field that permeates.
Yeah, and that's no different than what quantum field theory believes.
Well, it is similar, very similar. In fact, quantum essentially usurped the ether and bastardized it by, you know, getting into quantities rather than qualities. And now we've got mathematicians leading science, and science has left the room.
Yeah, I think just the main difference is the way that the early theorists on it. I mean, they understood that they must be interacting with something within space, but just the descriptions that they thought, the descriptions of the characteristics of it ended up being a little different than they had theorized. But in a sense, they were right in that they were exciting something that was basic to the nature of reality, right? That they were exciting fields that permeate through all of space.
Jake, are you just trying to say action and reaction like 8 million ways to Sunday? This
No,
is
that's not what I'm
crazy.
saying, D-Mock, you dumb bitch.
Oh, it's not? It sure sounds like you're just saying
all
an
settle down.
action.
Someone's
And
emotional.
you don't know the answer for why you have an action, and you don't know what your action's in or from or to. And it sounds like a you problem, Jake.
Yeah, that was just a joke at D-Mock because he likes to say that term.
I got it. I liked it.
Yeah, we're still here with just action and reaction, and then just Jake's pretty words to put on it that doesn't help nobody. Jake, do you ever find the radius of Earth? Can you stand on that?
Yeah, I had your mom jump and I measured the seismic waves.
Next. So does any
just-
glober really know what a radius is? Like
Just
besides
think
talking
about.
about just
Hold on, Dion. That's a separate topic, bro. We're not done with quantum yet, dude. I mean, just think about how much money's gone into that branch of science, the quantum branch of science, right?
and they lied to you. Yeah.
Well, just think about that for a second. If we were to put like a figure to that, like I don't even know, you know, like what would you say? Would you say it's in the billions or trillions or
let's
quadrillions?
look at it this way, Dieslow. What has really allowed us to produce the technologies that you have in your phone is the quantum physics that allowed us to understand how to produce semiconductors. So if Tesla was so brilliant,
fair enough.
How come he never produced semiconductors, which is literally the heart of all our modern technology
Well,
that would not
I'm
exist
sure.
without the invention of the semiconductor?
I'm sure we could argue against it, but even if I were to grant it to you on a silver platter, right? Let's just give it to you, right? But still, right? We've got to put a number to that, right? Because there's some value to be said in terms of the semiconductor and its practical utility and you know what it does in our everyday lives. Sure. But what is that number worth? Do you understand the dollar amount that's gone into quantum worldwide since its inception? If you were to put a number value to that, what would you say, being generous, Jake?
I don't really understand the question. What you mean by
How
putting
much
a dollar
how
value
much
to it?
money has gone into quantum? How much energy and time and financial support has it devoured throughout its birthing? I would
Well,
say it's in the trillions at least. That's
yeah.
being humble.
If we're going to include in it everything from developing new battery technologies to materials knowledge to the production of microprocessors, semiconductors. I mean, there's there's so many things in the material sciences that comes down to understanding quantum mechanics, right? Like, I don't. It would
Well,
literally be anything.
I think you're falsely attributing all that, but I think you're kind of biting off a little bit more than I gave you. I gave you semiconductors on a silver platter, and I'm trying to put a number value to that. And you're gaslighting right now. I'm saying that's in the trillions, maybe more, probably more.
I mean, yeah, of course.
And
I mean, just Apple alone is more than $1 trillion company, right?
But my point is there's not a lot that's amounted from quantum, dude. For all that fucking money, dude.
Other than just the fact that literally every modern technology is based around our new understanding of quantum. I mean, have you not understood like the types of knowledge that had to be gained in order to produce like modern microchips that power, our modern world? Everything from your car to your coffee maker to airliners to fucking everything, right? Like,
yeah, I think you're attributing a lot more to quantum than what quantum's amounted to. But my point is, dude, is that we haven't really had like crazy technological breakthroughs, dude, in like the last freaking and comparative, right? Comparative to
like if you look up like what is the most sophisticated, most expensive, and most machine that encompasses all the knowledges of all the different fields into
probably some NASA
one
rocket,
thing?
bro.
No.
Probably some NASA combustible nonsense disposable rocket, bro.
No. Modern microchip manufacturing equipment, $1 billion machines.
So not the nanotechnology.
They are. I mean, I guess we could go down the road of the Hadron Collider, but that's more. That's expensive more because of its size. It requires a lot of expensive, miles and miles of stuff, right? But
as far as like
the amount of different knowledge that has to be brought together to produce, like there's way more in a micro, microprocessor producing machine than there is even in the Hadron Collider or any other machine, even a rocket or whatever. There's way more technology and knowledge and scientific engineering that goes into that.
What they do with it is they don't have.
That's all based around the knowledge of the quantum world.
No, it's not, because they don't have a quantum computer that's the actual real thing, though.
That's just
they don't have a real quantum computer. Isn't that the whole point of all those words you just said? Quantum, quantum, quantum.
You're not going to be able to produce. You're not going to produce microprocessor without the knowledge of.
God damn it! You can't be this dumb, really. That's not what they're
Oh,
talking
because
about.
there's no quantum computer, and the whole point for the word quantum was for a quantum computer.
What DMOC's trying to tell you is there's no quantum inside the quantum computer. It's not like they sprinkled some quantum ingredients in there, bro.
They're actually
they're analyzing quantum states. They're using quantum states in order to.
Yeah, he said knowledge of the quantum.
Quantum state. What is a quantum state?
There's nowhere in nature you can point
it's
to.
Right next to Utah.
Doesn't
the quantum
exist.
State
dude.
is right next to Utah. Okay, that's where quantum state is.
It doesn't exist, bro.
It does exist.
What do they use? Hang on. What do they? No, hang on, NASA.
10 seconds.
What do they use to analyze?
I already know the outcome is going to be a reaction of some type of design. It's going to be pareidolia. What you're doing is naming the design. Too bad.
What I'm saying is, if you go a little bit less, you're not going to get an image. If you go a little bit higher, it's too high. It's not going to take the electron off. There's very specific energy amounts that you can send out to have them jiggle off, and you can see the impact afterwards.
Does that not make sense for everything? If you got a filament that has a certain amount and you put too much into it, what are you going to do? Burn your filament. Now you can't use it. So you'll have to get a better one.
What are you talking about? No, somebody said
kinetic.
Quantum.
The thing is, kinetic is you've already admitted that an electron has no spatial volume, right? So it's unfalsifiable. to begin with.
No, I
And
don't.
you're presuming its existence after already admitting that it's imperceivable and inconceivable.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's a problem.
You can't be
Why
this
are we
dumb.
jumping into? Somebody said prove something quantum. This is a provable quantized step that is happening in reality,
Oh,
whether
it's,
you want to call that an electron or not, if it
you
has
don't
spatial
have a
volume or not.
thing. Show me the
Something is
physical thing that
flying
you're
off.
calling an electron.
It doesn't matter what you call it. Something is flying off and
No,
making an
stop,
impact.
please. Do you have the thing? Do you have the
You
said
have the
thing you're
image.
talking about?
What do you want? What do you want? You want me to hand you an
I
electron
want the
demo in a
thing you
bucket?
keep naming. The
What he's
photon
saying,
electron.
what he's saying is you can't even perceive the electron. You're just presuming that something's flying off.
Did
Like,
you ever watch? Did you ever watch
Okay, we
an
can
old time
also
TV?
prove it.
You ever watch an old time TV? You know, where the cathode ray
we've
tube
already
is
talked
up?
about the CRT tube set, bro.
Yeah. Those were electrons.
We've asked you for one of these things that you've got handy.
What do you want?
And
You
then
want me
you
to
just
hand you
keep
an
talking
electron
about
demo
other stuff, and
in a
now you're
bucket in
mad
a lab?
because we asked for one and you don't have it.
You
Where's
want an
that?
electron in a bucket in a lab, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're the one that made it up that you have one and you believe one. If you
What do you mean?
believe in a
Cathode
Santa
ray
Claus
tube.
electron that's like Bigfoot and Godzilla,
Yeah, the
then
fact.
you'll have to
Take a
produce it.
balloon. Take a balloon. Rub it on your
No, I
hair if
don't
you have
have to
any.
do anything with your
Yeah, that's
Godzilla.
Those are
exactly
electrons.
what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Those are
An
electrons.
electrostatic charge, bro. That's
Yes.
you think that's comprised
Yeah.
of
Curious,
positively
Dyson,
charged
when we were
electrons?
talking
That's
Negatively charged
when
ones.
we were
that's
talking about the
retarded, bro.
MRI, Dyson, when we were talking
Negatively
about the
charged.
MRI,
Correct, Dyson.
and you brought up the Lamar frequency. So that tells me that you believe that the Lamar frequency is a thing, right?
It's a sound. Yes, sound is
Which
a
based on
thing.
particles.
Sound causes an action or a reaction.
Hold on, Demonic. I was asking for Dieslow.
But it's common
Yes,
sense.
Lamar frequency is a thing, and it's based upon geomagnetic precession at the micro
Particle.
scale, dude.
Precession
And
of
it's
what?
talking about
The precession of what?
the magnetic field friction. It's essentially field friction,
Yeah,
and you
but
guys
it's
are
measuring the precession rate of what? There's an equation. It's an equation, and that equation is used to calculate the precession of what?
Well, it's not what you think it is. It's not. It's not
Well,
fucking
it's used in the
particles.
MRI,
I
and it was
understand that.
invented, and it came up with the guy that you're bringing his name up, and he used it to calculate the precession of what?
It's the precession of the magnetic and dielectric field intersections that you guys are perceiving to be
Stop with
particles.
the Kent.
What the
Stop
equation
with
does.
the bullshit.
The
You guys are
equation is
perceiving.
specifically to predict the precession rate of something specifically. What is that thing that it's used to predict the precession of?
Give you a second. Starts with an
the
E.
magnetic resonance of an electron.
Electron, ding, 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 the particle. Thank you very much.
Yeah, or it
Welcome.
could be, or it could be any technically any charged nuclei that could be affected by a magnetic field. So it could be a proton as well. But yes, so it requires the existence of electrons. The thing that you just said doesn't exist.
Well, I'm trying to tell you that you guys are just misappropriating these particles for field interactions. That's what I've been saying.
Stop with the Ken Wheeler bullshit.
You stop, NASA, before I mute you, dude.
Stop
Okay, you
with
don't
the
tell
Ken
me to
Wheeler
stop.
bullshit.
No, I'm not going to stop with it.
So you're not a Ken Wheeler fan, though. Are you a Ken Wheeler fan? Are you a Ken Wheeler fan?
I'm a big time Ken Wheeler fan, and I've already
Why has
produced.
he not invented any kind of technology? Because he
Yes.
has this superior knowledge of electromagnetism. And right now, the biggest money in the world right now is around the stuff that he's talking about, right?
He has, man. He's made patents, and he's made patents, and he's sold the patents for money, and he's done things. He's written books. He's done a lot of shit.
Hold on. What patents has he done that he's so? Because you can patent anything, right? There's literally patents for perpetual motion machines in the patent office, right?
Okay.
What patents has he done that's being applied by any product in the world?
In gold extraction, gold recovery, he essentially used the magnetic field inadvertently to speed up the black sands, if you will, from the sluice riffles to give more real estate for the gold, and thus, in theory, capturing more gold.
Is that? Can we look up that patent right now on the patent website? On the government
Probably
patent
could.
website?
Probably could.
You know what the patent number is for that?
Oh, come on, dude. Busting my balls here. And if I gave it to you, would that change your mind on anything? Either way, dude. The whole point
You'll
is.
be a
The whole point
willy-nilly.
is. Yeah, the whole point is the conversation started right from a question about a different atomic theory, and I provided a different atomic theory, right? That doesn't involve electrons, and I gave it to kinetic, and I think Jake came into the conversation late, and we're just getting a lot of projection now from paid NASA throwing fuel on an unnecessary fire.
Dieslow, what is it? What is this invention with gold? Out of interest from Ken Wheeler, because I know Ken is a con man. Full stop. But what is his invention? No, well, you can laugh. Listen, laughing doesn't help you. Okay, laughing loud, laughing small doesn't matter. You need to prove. Like Jake mentioned something very interesting. Anyone can patent anything. It doesn't mean fuck all, unless it has a utility, it has a use case. So I can go now and patent anything. It doesn't mean anything unless it has a useful purpose. Okay, Ken Wheeler have some patents which has fuck all use case, like zero use cases. I was just when you talked about it, I was looking at the gold stuff. Do you know what the patent numbers are? You're just repeating what you heard.
You didn't just hear him ask me for the patent numbers.
I know I heard him ask you, but again.
Okay, so why are you going to
just
ask me something someone else asked me that I didn't provide an answer to? Does that make sense?
It does make
Yeah,
sense.
are we getting somewhere?
Because we are getting somewhere. If you shut up, we are getting somewhere. Okay. Reason is you just saying something with no substance. Okay. Ken Wheeler invented nothing, which is a use case. Okay. He just
He
said,
asked me a
"Oh, look at me."
question, and I gave him an answer. And
Just look.
and you're the only one saying that he invented nothing based on your feelings and your personal incredulity of upon the guy.
I am.
That's your problem, and that's your
looked into.
subjective right.
Okay. It's not my
Right?
subjective right. It's something I can actually Google and search for. Okay, I found 3 or 4. This is a conversation you keep bringing up with the Ken Wheeler, which is a con man, con artist. Okay, you got 3 or 4. I don't know, 2 or 3, I think I'm not sure. Like that. 2 or 3 patents under him, which has zero utilities and use cases. Okay, when you say gold, where is this coming from? This
Says
is
you, bro.
absolutely new.
Says you.
No, it's not.
I can barely even. I'm struggling to even understand what you're saying, dude.
Did I mention gold? You brought it up. You said he did something. He invented some bullshit.
Accent's terrible.
I'm sorry if my accent is not up to your
It
standards.
is. It's horrible, bro.
I don't give a fuck.
Horrible.
Okay, I don't give a fuck.
Well, just like I don't give a fuck of what you think about Ken Wheeler.
Okay.
Why do I care?
You know what?
I'm not
What's
here
the
to
best
prove
part?
anything to you. I don't give a fuck what you think.
You fully understand what I'm saying, but you just pick up my accent. I don't give a fuck about my accent, okay? You fully understand what I'm saying. So this Ken Wheeler, okay, and gold invention. Do you have a citation? Do you have a patent number for it? It's a yes or no answer.
Even if I provided it, what is that going to do for you?
Well, let's leave that to me, okay?
Okay. So do I work for you?
Just go look it up.
Do I work for you?
Let's discuss.
Do I work for
later,
Hammer?
okay?
I don't think I work for you.
Okay, so why are you talking shit then?
No one's talking shit but you.
I didn't talk shit. You brought up shit.
You are. You're over here demanding me to go get patent numbers for you.
Yes, if you are.
Sorry.
Here with this as a state of
I don't work
authority,
for you, bro. Don't work for you.
Me. I would never hire you in the first place.
Yeah, that's nice. I would never work for you. You sound like you're fucking a grabbler.
Listen, I would never hire you. So that's that. Okay, let's get.
And I would never work for you, no matter how much you wanted to pay me.
I need to
I don't work for fucking people like you.
Listen, I need to advertise a work for you to hire. Then you can work for me. The first.
I don't want your job, bro. I'm good. I don't want whatever you have to sell.
He would never work for
and I don't care about your questions. How about that?
Hammer would never.
How about that? Jump on your magic carpet and fly away. Thank you.
Number one. And number two, you said something very interesting about quantum computing. Okay. What do you know about quantum computing?
I'm not engaging with you, bro.
I'll tell you what you know about it. Nothing. You don't know anything about quantum computing, so stop saying the word.
Just a fairy tale Mother Goose told you.
Mark, I write and Stack. Come on, not you. Okay, I write code in quantum computing field.
You want, Hammer? Okay, fine.
Snacks, man, how's it going, man? How you doing? Are you good? Just to be very, very clear, okay, I write code around quantum computing. I am a consumer of IBM quantum computing.
Writing down
What is
numbers
it?
and letters is not quantum computing. I'm sorry. And if you think writing down letters and numbers is quantum computing, then you're sad. And so is quantum
What?
computing.
That's fine. That's fine. When you say quantum computing, what do you think it is? Out of interest.
It doesn't exist. It's not real.
Okay.
You
Fine,
just said it's
fine.
writing down numbers and letters on paper. Who knows what that
Alright.
means?